Hello, Namaskar. This is Firstpost and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. India has struck Pakistan. 2 weeks after the Pahalgam terrorist attack, India has done what it promised to do, punish the perpetrators and their masters. Early this morning, Indian forces launched what they called Operation Sindoor. They targeted 9 sites in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. We will tell you where and how this operation unfolded. The big question now is, what happens next? Will this lead to a full-blown war between India and Pakistan? Will Pakistan retaliate and escalate this? We will decode their statements and their moves. Meanwhile, the Pakistani forces are doing what they do best. They're targeting Indian civilians. The images coming from Poonch near Jammu are disturbing. Civilians, including women and children, being killed in Pakistani shelling. We will also tell you about the biggest strike by India in Bahawalpur in Pakistan's Punjab province, where the family of United Nations designated terrorist Masood Azhar was killed. Also looking at the narrative war that Pakistan has launched with its preferred weapon, fake news. An introduction to the men leading Pakistan's chaotic response, how the world is reacting to India's action, what does this escalation mean for you, and how India's doctrine of strategic restraint with a measured, focused, non-escalatory response can be a lesson for the rest of the world. All this and more coming up. The headlines first. Houthis say they will continue to target Israeli ships in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden. This despite a ceasefire deal with the US. Washington and the Iran-backed group have agreed to not target each other in the Red Sea. The Houthis have been attacking Israel-linked ships since the Gaza war began in 2023. Ukrainian drone attacks close airports and disrupt hundreds of flights across Russia. This comes just days ahead of Moscow's Victory Day parade. The Kremlin restricts mobile internet access in the capital, says it is taking all necessary measures to ensure that the parade is safe. A drone strike targets the Sudan's biggest naval base in Port Sudan. This is the 4th straight day of attacks on the army-backed government. Yesterday, drones hit Port Sudan's power station and main port and the country's last functioning international airport. Sri Lanka's leftist government wins the local council election, but with significantly lower margins. This was the first test for President Anura Kumara Dissanayike's coalition, which swept the national polls last year. The president had turned the local election into a referendum on his 6-month administration. Catholic cardinals to begin casting their votes for a new pope. 133 cardinal electors are taking part in the largest ever conclave to pick Pope Francis's successor. There is no clear front-runner. The next pontiff will have to secure at least 89 votes. And Rohit Sharma announces retirement from Test cricket with immediate effect. The 38-year-old has been one of India's most prolific Test batters. He captained India to the World Test Championship final against Australia in 2023. Rohit Sharma is likely to remain as India's one-day international captain. Nine targets in 25 minutes. India has avenged Pahalgam. Less than 24 hours ago, India launched Operation Sindoor, and it struck terrorist camps run by Pakistan. We've been tracking the updates for you through the day today. There is no doubt that Operation Sindoor was a success. It was India's way of delivering justice to the victims of Pahalgam. 2 weeks back, Pakistani terrorists attacked Kashmir. They killed 26 innocent civilians. India called the attack barbaric and held Pakistan responsible for it. This attack in Pahalgam took place on the 22nd of April. Since then, there's been suspense and speculation about India's response. Today, it was all laid to rest. India hit back with Operation Sindoor. It lasted for about 25 minutes. It began at 1:05 a.m. in the morning, ended at 1:30 a.m. A total of 9 targets were hit, 5 in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and 4 deep inside Pakistani territory. And every one of them, every target, was tied to a terrorist group.
Earlier this morning, as you would be aware, India exercised its right to respond and preempt, as well as deter more such cross-border attacks. These actions were measured, non-escalatory, proportionate, and responsible. They focused on dismantling the terrorist infrastructure and disabling terrorists likely to be sent across to India.
India carried out a high-precision air campaign. It was conducted from the Indian soil. At no point did Indian forces cross the line of control, the de facto border between India and Pakistan. That is the line of control, LOC. Indian forces did not cross it. They launched all strikes from Indian territory. Now, here's what we know about the targets. Target number 1, the Savai Nala camp. It's near Muzaffarabad city in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, just 30 kilometers from the line of control. This facility belongs to the Lashkar-e-Taiba. It is significant because the Lashkar is the parent body of TRF, the resistance front, the group that carried out the Pahalgam attack. In fact, those attackers could have been trained here at the same Savai Nala camp. Target number 2, the Sayyid Na Bilal camp. Again, in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, this was a Jaish-e-Mohammed stronghold. It specialized in weapons, explosives, and jungle warfare. Target number 3, the Gulpur camp, based in a city called Kotli in POK. This is another Lashkar facility, a terrorist training center. Target number 4, the Barnala camp. This is in a town called Bhimber in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. This was just 9 kilometers from the line of control. This served as a training camp. Here, terrorists were taught how to make IEDs, that's improvised explosive devices, IEDs. They were also trained in handling weapons and survival tactics. Target number 5, the Abbas camp. This too is a Lashkar facility in the city of Kotli in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, just 13 kilometers from the line of control. Here, the Lashkar-e-Taiba could train 15 suicide commandos at a time. Target number 6, the Sarjal camp in Sialkot. Sialkot is one of the most populous cities of Pakistan's Punjab province. This camp was a high-value target because it was just 6 kilometers away from the international border. Sarjal was a Jaish-e-Mohammed camp. Target number 7, the Mehmoona Joya camp, also in Sialkot. It's a large Hizbul Mujahideen base. They planned operations in Jammu. The 2016 attack in Pathankot was planned from here. Target number 8, Markaz Taiba in Pakistan's Punjab's Muridke city. Again, it's a high-value target. This is the headquarters of the Lashkar-e-Taiba. Terrorists like Ajmal Kasab and David Headley were trained here. These were the men behind the 26/11 attacks in Mumbai in 2008. And finally, target number 9, Markaz Subhanallah in Bahawalpur, another city in Pakistan's Punjab province. This is the farthest target that India has hit in this operation. Bahawalpur is the operational center of Jaish-e-Mohammed. It lies nearly 100 kilometers from the border. It serves as a hub for indoctrination, training, and recruitment of suicide bombers. This was India's final target, also the biggest, and it caused significant damage. 10 members of Masood Azhar's family were killed in the Indian strikes. Masood Azhar is a UN-designated terrorist. Each strike by the Indian forces was precise, and each one was backed by hard evidence. India says this was a measured and non-escalatory operation. Those were the words that the Indian statement used, measured and non-escalatory. It wasn't a move to start a war. It was a move to send a message.
It was deemed essential that the perpetrators and planners of the 22nd April attack be brought to justice. Despite a fortnight having passed since the attacks, there has been no demonstrable step from Pakistan to take action against the terrorist infrastructure on its territory or on territory under its control. Instead, all it has indulged in are denials and allegations.
That was Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri. He held a press conference today along with 2 senior women officers of the armed forces, Colonel Sofiya Qureshi of the Indian Army and Wing Commander Vyomika Singh of the Indian Air Force. Now this too is a powerful message. This press conference, a Kashmiri, that is Vikram Misri, and 2 women officers, including 1 Muslim officer and 1 Sikh, telling the world about India's response to Pakistani terror. The choice of speakers on India's behalf is also India's statement that all Indians stand united in this action against Pakistan. They walked through the entire operation, target by target, frame by frame. The Muridke town is home to Hafiz Saeed, the mastermind of the 26/11 Mumbai attacks, also the man behind the Pahalgam attack, because he leads the Lashkar-e-Taiba, which is the parent outfit of the TRF, the resistance front. In fact, Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri confirmed during this press statement, yes, India has raised this before the United Nations. Pakistan tried to suppress references to the TRF on multiple occasions, and now India says that those links have been proven.
Our intelligence has developed an accurate picture of the planners and backers of this team. The features of this attack also tie in with Pakistan's long track record of perpetrating cross-border terrorism in India, which is well documented and beyond question. Pakistan also has a well-deserved reputation as a haven for terrorists from around the world, with internationally proscribed terrorists enjoying impunity there.
And this morning's strikes were the answer. But the operation was not the only story today. It's also about the fallout, the narrative war, Pakistan responding with fury, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif calling the strikes an act of war, and the warnings of retaliation. Meanwhile, the situation on the border remains tense. Indian and Pakistani forces have exchanged heavy fire because Pakistan continues to violate the ceasefire, especially in the Poonch sector. This is in Jammu. More than 10 civilians have died here on the Indian side. They were victims of Pakistan's firing and shelling on the border. Many more have been injured. Locals along the LOC are being moved to safer regions. They have been forced to take refuge inside underground bunkers. India is reinforcing its defenses. The country remains on alert, but one message stands out. From Vikram Misri's briefing this afternoon, he said that India's response was not just military, it was also strategic. Operation Sindoor was not about escalation, it was about accountability. Pakistan must answer for harboring terrorists who killed innocents without provocation. India is making sure of that. The biggest question of the hour is this: what happens next? Will this turn into a full-blown war? Will Pakistan escalate the situation? Will it hit back? And if it does, what will be the shape and scope of its response? Through the day today, we've seen a lot of statements, we've seen a lot of hints from the other side, and we've been tracking every word closely. There's some contradiction and confusion, but they've not taken a clear off-ramp. This afternoon, the Pakistani Prime Minister stood before his parliament. His name is Shehbaz Sharif, the Pakistani PM. He was supposed to project strength. Instead, he sounded what Gen Z would call delusional. Shehbaz Sharif said, and listen to this, 80 Indian aircraft took part in the strikes, 80 Indian aircraft. 5 of them were shot down by Pakistan. That shows how war-ready Islamabad is. In fact, let's have it from the horse's mouth.
और पाकिस्तान के उकाब मुकम्मल तौर पर तैयारी में थे और हमारे जहाज़ों ने पाकिस्तान की सरहदों को अबूर नहीं किया। जनाब स्पीकर, जो ही हिंदुस्तान के जहाज़ों ने पेलोड उन्होंने रिलीज किया, हमारे उकाब झपटे और आनन फानन 5 जहाज जिनमें 3 राफेल हैं उनको मार कराया और उनको ऊंधे मुंह वो कश्मीर पर जाकर गिरे, बठिंडा में जाके गिरे।
Let that sink in for a moment. India targeted 9 terror camps deep inside Pakistan. The Pakistanis say 26 people were killed in the Indian action, which is an interesting figure to quote, by the way. It's the exact number of civilians that they killed in Pahalgam. Now, India has not given an official number of the casualties in Pakistan, but its strike exposed Pakistan's terror infrastructure. No two ways about it. Yet, in their Prime Minister's mind, they have secured a win. He calls it a military success for the Pakistan army.
माजी की तरह छुपकर पाकिस्तान के ऊपर हमला करने की नापाक कोशिश की, लेकिन अल्लाह ताला के बेपाया फजल करम से पाकिस्तान के 24 करोड़ अवाम की दुआओं से हमारी बहादुर और दलेर अफवाज पाकिस्तान ने हिंदुस्तान के इस मकरूह हमले का मुंह तोड़ जवाब देकर उस तारीख रात को चांदनी रात बना दिया।
That was the Prime Minister of Pakistan. Now let's look at the statement from their Defence Minister. His name is Khwaja Asif. He's this close to making a record for U-turns and foot-in-mouth moments. Today he said that Pakistan is ready to refrain from any further military action, meaning they won't hit back. But of course he has one condition, that India should halt its military operations. Sounds like a plan, but it's riddled with holes, because Khwaja Asif is not exactly Pakistan's voice of reason. He's walked back more statements than he stood by. So take his words with not just a pinch of salt, take the whole salt mine. At the same time, do note that his words reveal the mood in Islamabad. They're spinning it as a win, as something that's done and dusted. But that's not the mood in Rawalpindi. That's the seat of power of the Pakistani generals. They stand exposed. Indian forces hit deep inside Pakistan's borders, and the mighty Pakistan army, they did not see it coming. They were scrambling to respond. So for the military, this is a bruise to their ego.
I've said before, we had an apprehension that India will attack. Pakistan has never struck first, but we have the right to self-defense. Pakistan will now respond, and respond very, very effectively. Make no mistake, because our desire for peace should not be mistaken for our weakness.
The army says Pakistan has the right to respond. It was mentioned in their national security statement. In fact, let me quote from it. The armed forces of Pakistan have duly been authorized to undertake corresponding actions in this regard. In simpler words, the army has the permission to strike, which is a bit of a joke because this is Pakistan. Here the army gives all permissions. Rawalpindi controls all of Pakistan. This is a military state, doppelganging as a democracy. Yet the army needs permission. Is Pakistan cracking a joke or just cracking under pressure? That's something that they should ponder upon. As for India, it is not waiting for Pakistan to figure out their next move. India is already a step ahead. It is engaging with its global partners. The Foreign Secretary has briefed 13 countries. The Foreign Minister has called his counterparts in Germany, Spain, France and Japan. India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval has spoken to almost 10 countries, and one name stands out in this list: China. Ajit Doval spoke to Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi. His message was quite simple. India does not want to escalate, but if Pakistan does, India is well prepared to retaliate. Now, why did Doval say this to Beijing? Because China and Pakistan call themselves iron brothers. So who better to pass on the message? Also, if Pakistan won't listen to reason, it will listen to its lenders and masters. As things stand, it's hard to gauge the response. Will they hit back? Maybe, maybe not. I guess the real question at the moment is, can they hit back? Are they in a position to mount an effective response? We ask because there's widespread panic across Pakistan. Schools and colleges are closed. Hospitals are on high alert. Rescue teams are on standby. Flights are avoiding its airspace. The Lahore airport has been shut. The Pakistan stock market plunged at opening today. All of these are not signs of a nation prepared for war. Pakistan may say that it has the right to respond, but rights do not win wars. Readiness does. And right now, Pakistan looks more rattled than ready. The generals in Rawalpindi may want a fight to save face, but even they know that they're playing a losing hand. India's Operation Sindoor was against terror camps in Pakistan. Islamabad says it will respond to what? That is the question. Because India does not harbor terrorists. So who is Pakistan planning to attack? If you're thinking the Indian military, you are wrong, I'm afraid. Pakistan is doing what it does best. It is attacking innocent civilians again. They have again violated the ceasefire agreement for the 13th consecutive day today. For 12 days, Pakistan used small arms. Today, they used artillery fire. Poonch and Rajouri have been targeted by the Pakistani army. These are two districts in the Jammu region. The Indian army is retaliating, but the Pakistan army is not striking Indian army positions. They are targeting only residential areas in India. At least 15 innocent Indians have been killed, including children and women. More than 50 have sustained injuries. Several houses have been destroyed. Even a Sikh Gurudwara was struck in Poonch. This is not a provocation. This is a desperate act by the Pakistani military. Their actions are not just reckless, they're inhumane. Jammu and Kashmir's local government is taking precaution. An emergency meeting was held today. Schools and colleges in some areas have been shut down. Civilians have been asked to stay indoors. A round-the-clock control room has been set up in Srinagar. This is to address public concerns and to coordinate emergency responses. If you're watching us from Jammu and Kashmir, do note the numbers on your screen in case you need assistance. Dial these numbers. The question is, why is Pakistan doing all of this? Why is their army shelling civilians in Poonch? First is deflection. India's Operation Sindoor has hit Pakistan where it hurts. Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed terror hubs were destroyed. These are groups backed by the Pakistani army. They were unable to defend against the Indian strikes, so they're resorting to artillery fire to save face. That's point one, deflection. The second point is desperation. Islamabad knows it cannot match India's firepower, so it falls back to its old playbook. Cross-border attacks on civilians to stoke tensions. But let's also talk consequences. Global outrage is missing. The West wants stability in the region. But they turn a blind eye when Pakistan provokes. If India chooses to retaliate, the West is the first to push for truce. But Pakistan's ceasefire violations will not go unanswered. India is more than capable of responding to Pakistan, and that too in kind. Pakistan can choose to violate the ceasefire, but they cannot choose the consequences. For now, the Indian army is responding with heavy guns. Civilians in Poonch have been asked to limit their movement. Their safety is the top priority. At the same time, India is not taking any chances. Other regions have been on alert too. Nationwide mock drills were conducted today. Civilians were taught about multiple scenarios, like incoming air raids, blackout procedures, urban fire emergencies, and casualty evacuations. The drills were held in 244 districts across India. We have 800 districts in this country. The mock drills were held in 244 in cities like Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, Chennai, and Bengaluru. Civilian safety drills were also held at religious sites, particularly in the state of Uttar Pradesh, at the Ram Mandir in Ayodhya, and the Kashi Vishwanath temple in Varanasi. This is because of the high number of devotees at these temples. So India is preparing for all scenarios. For now, the real threat is on the line of control. Pakistan continues to attack civilians. Like a responsible nation, India is only retaliating, not escalating. The Indian army is showing professionalism and restraint. But if Pakistan continues on this trajectory, they will learn the true cost of peace delivered by the Indian armed forces. Let's focus on India's strike on Bahawalpur, a city in Pakistan's Punjab province, about 400 kilometers away from Lahore. Bahawalpur was struck multiple times. The target, the headquarters of Jaish-e-Mohammed, or JEM. This is a United Nations designated terrorist organization, the same group that orchestrated the 2019 Pulwama attack, when a suicide bomber killed 40 Indian troops. Like I said, that was in 2019. So why was Bahawalpur struck this time? Because India wanted to send a message that terrorists inside Pakistan were no longer safe. Bahawalpur is the beating heart of the Jaish-e-Mohammed, a terror group founded and led by this man, Masood Azhar, a globally recognized terrorist, one of the masterminds of the terror attack on the Indian parliament. That attack happened in 2001. The Jaish-e-Mohammed headquarters in Bahawalpur was no secret. This morning, Indian jets took out the terror infrastructure. At least 2 sites were bombed. First was Kausar Colony. This is in the northwestern part of the city. And the second was Raman. This is in the western outskirts of Bahawalpur. The main target was the one in Raman, the Markaz Jamia Masjid Subhan Allah complex. That was the target. The Markaz Jamia Masjid Subhan Allah complex, the main headquarters of the Jaish-e-Mohammed. This is where terrorists are recruited, indoctrinated, and trained, or were. Masood Azhar, the Jaish-e-Mohammed chief, lives there under state protection. He has made several anti-India speeches from this very masjid. He's protected by the Pakistani army. But they could not do much this time. Indian jets struck the Jaish-e-Mohammed headquarters. 10 family members of Masood Azhar were killed, along with 4 of his close associates. The Jaish-e-Mohammed has confirmed this. For years, Masood Azhar was responsible for the deaths of innocent Indians. Today, he paid the price for years of terrorism. Let's also talk about the nature of the strike. Indian intelligence agencies first did their homework. Satellite imagery was collated. Ground-level intelligence was collected. Then the coordinates were shared with the Indian Air Force. The objective was clear: destroy Jaish-e-Mohammed terror facilities and limit any collateral damage. This morning, New Delhi responded, not out of aggression, but out of necessity. Indian Air Force jets fired advanced missiles. They struck with pinpoint accuracy. The Jaish-e-Mohammed headquarters were destroyed. Before and after visuals reveal the intensity of the Indian strike. Have a look. Indian armed forces say the terrorists were targeted successfully.
सुभान अल्लाह भावलपुर ये इंटरनेशनल बाउंड्री से 100 किलोमीटर दूर है। जैश ए मोहम्मद का मुख्यालय था। यहाँ पर रिक्रूटमेंट, ट्रेनिंग व इंडॉक्ट्रिनेशन का केंद्र भी था। शीर्ष आतंकी अक्सर यहाँ आते थे। मैं आप सबको बताना चाहती हूँ कि किसी भी सैन्य ठिकाने का निशाना नहीं बनाया गया और अभी तक किसी तरह की नागरिक क्षति की रिपोर्ट नहीं है।
Predictably, Islamabad has condemned the strike. They have called it an act of war. They claim that only civilians were injured in the Bahawalpur strike. Pakistan said no militant camps were targeted. I'll repeat that for you. Pakistan said no militant camps were targeted. What does that imply? That there are militant camps on Pakistani soil, but they were not targeted in this strike. Although the world already knows about all of this. Now, let me also tell you why a strike on Bahawalpur is historic. This city is not some remote terror outpost. This is the 12th largest city in Pakistan. It is in the heart of Pakistan's Punjab province. It is home to the Jaish-e-Mohammed. It is protected by the Pakistani military. The terror infrastructure had grown in recent years. Satellite images from 2022 to now show the expansion. Look at what they have. Solar energy plants had been installed. New buildings had been constructed. At least 7 multi-storied structures. The compound also had swimming pools and livestock pens. Basically, the terror camp was self-sustained. While Pakistanis struggle for food and water and basic amenities, terrorists get state-of-the-art infrastructure complete with swimming pools. Now, all of it has been reduced to rubble. This is a doctrinal shift in India's fight against terrorism. Because look at 2016, terrorists attacked an army camp in Jammu and Kashmir's Uri. How did New Delhi respond? The Indian army carried out surgical strikes in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, 2016. In 2019, Pakistan-sponsored terror struck again, this time in Pulwama. We already told you about it. And how did India respond then? By conducting airstrikes in Balakot, terror launch pads in Pakistan's Khyber Pakhtunkhwa were destroyed. 2019. This time, India has gone after terrorism's jugular vein. The Jaish-e-Mohammed headquarters in Pakistan's Punjab. By striking here, India has sent a warning to Pakistan that your terror havens are no longer safe, wherever they are. This is what India meant when it said that terrorists and their backers would be punished. The Indian response was not just about vengeance. It also exposed Pakistan's double game. Islamabad may keep crying foul, but it still won't shut its terror camps. India does not want war, but it won't tolerate terror either. And that is the biggest takeaway from the strike at Bahawalpur, that India will respond not with words, but with action. Surgical, measured, and justified. Today's wars are different. You don't just fight on land, air, and water. You also fight online. You don't just fight soldiers and aircraft. You also fight fake news. And this conflict is no different. Pakistan is waging a war on social media. They're flooding platforms with fake news and biased narratives. Their goal? To demoralize Indian forces, to sow doubt in the minds of Indians. Tonight, we'll expose this Pakistani campaign. Let's start with pictures shared by pro-Pakistani handles. All of them show a crashed fighter jet. They claim it's an Indian Rafale. The fact is, this picture is from 2021. It shows a MiG-21 jet that crashed in India's Punjab. No dogfight, no Pakistani hand. Here's another picture of a supposed Rafale on fire. Pakistani handles say it was shot down near Bahawalpur. Again, this is fake. This picture is from September 2024. It shows a MiG fighter jet crashed in Rajasthan. And these are not just posted by random handles. Pakistani media is actively amplifying it. Let me show you a report from GeoTV. It claims that India's brigade headquarters were targeted. Videos also show a building on fire. Again, absolutely false. No Indian brigade headquarters was attacked. Let me also show you another example. This is a video that shows a raging inferno. And what is the claim? That it shows an attack on Srinagar Air Base. Once again, this is fake. This video dates back to 2024. It shows sectarian violence in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa in Pakistan. How about that? Pakistan is passing off its own violence as an attack on India. And finally, one more video that we have for you. This one is being called a Pakistani missile strike on India. It shows a raging fire and plumes of smoke. A raging fire and plumes of smoke. Just one problem though. This wasn't a missile strike on India. This is from the Beirut explosion of 2020. And these are just some examples that we've put together. You've got hundreds of Pakistani propaganda handles, all of them peddling fake news. Even more dangerous are the biased accounts, accounts that know the truth but still hide it or twist it. Like this CGTN post. This is Chinese state media, CGTN. It is supposedly showing a downed Indian jet. But the video is old. The same one was peddled by Pakistani accounts last month as well. Back then, it was supposed to be the line of control. Now it is a crash Rafale. All these efforts make one thing clear. Pakistan is weaponizing social media. Their goal is to build a narrative that suits them, a narrative that differs from the truth. Let me explain this. The truth is that India struck 9 terror camps in Pakistan. It pierced through Pakistan's air defenses. But the fake narrative? That Indian jets were down, that Indian brigade headquarters were attacked, and that the Srinagar air base was destroyed. It's like creating a whole new reality, one that paints Pakistan as the victor. The question is, how can India tackle this? For starters, call them out. The Indian embassy in China is doing that. They have openly called out the Global Times. The Global Times is another Chinese mouthpiece. It claimed that Pakistan shot down Indian jets. But the Indian embassy has fact-checked them. That's one thing that India can do. Secondly, do more to spread your evidence, your side of the story. India has released radar images of its strikes on Pakistan. But releasing alone is not enough. Amplify them, share them widely, maybe even edit them for effect. You've seen the Israelis do it all the time. They turn their mission videos into a spectacle. Perhaps it's not the traditional way of doing it, but these are also not traditional times. You have an enemy who is bending the truth. You have a platform that allows itself to be bent. So every player must adapt. India must turn its battlefield victory into a digital victory. Unfortunately, that is the world that we live in. It's not enough to visit Disneyland. It's important to post a picture from there. India seems to have realized this in recent years. Our digital strategy has improved compared to 2016 and 2019. The key is to keep building on that. Our next story takes you behind the curtains of the stage that is Pakistan. 4 men stand on it. Each plays a very different role. The first is Asim Munir, the general with absolute power. Then there's Shehbaz Sharif, the prime minister who speaks of peace but doesn't hold the reins. Then there's the defense minister, Khwaja Asif, blunt, unpredictable and always ready to provoke. And finally, the government spin doctor, Ataullah Tarar, carefully crafting the narrative that the army wants the world to hear. Together, these 4 men are steering Pakistan's response at this point, but only one of them is truly in command. Our next report tells you more.
General Asim Munir, Pakistan's army chief. And without a doubt, the most powerful man in the country. So it's no surprise that Munir has a clear vision for Pakistan's foreign policy. After all, the military is the one that calls the shots. It's what we're now calling the Munir Doctrine. The goal, cultivate a more moderate image for Pakistan. Position Islamabad as a middle power. Focus on geo-economic development as a core priority. But the Munir Doctrine had a far more ambitious agenda. A shift back to ideological maximalism over Kashmir, anchoring it in military determination and an Islamic nationalist narrative. Just days before the Pahalgam attack, Munir referred to Kashmir as Pakistan's jugular vein.
Government stance on Kashmir is absolutely clear. It was our jugular vein. It is our jugular vein. We will not forget it. And we will not leave our Kashmiri brethren in their heroic struggle, what they are waging against the Indian occupation.
And now he seems to have gone for it. Since the attack, Munir hasn't said much. He's not the loudest voice, but he is the one who controls the military apparatus. That means he has the final say on whether this conflict boils over. So it's clear that his will is law. But if Asif Munir is the one throwing logs onto the fire, Shehbaz Sharif is the guy trying to put it out. He is the country's prime minister, but there's a small problem. Sharif is not really in control, not in the way that you'd think. He talks about de-escalation and diplomacy, but the real power, military power that is, lies elsewhere. So Shehbaz Sharif is stuck between a rock and a hard place. He has to maintain an image of diplomacy and restraint, especially for the international community. But the reality is that he's beholden to the military establishment. So his words ring hollow most times.
Let this message be loud and clear for all and sundry. Peace is our preference, but must not be construed as our weakness. We will and we shall never compromise on our dignity and security of our beloved Pakistan.
Then there's Khwaja Asif, the country's defense minister. You'd think someone in his position would be calm and calculated, but that's everything Asif is not. He makes controversial statements and backtracks. He ramps up the nuclear saber rattling. He talks about doing America's dirty work.
Including Britain. Well, we have been doing this dirty work for the United States for about 3 decades, and West, including Britain.
But it's not just hot air. Khwaja Asif has a way of pushing Pakistan's rhetoric to the edge. And last, there's a new face making his mark. Ataullah Tarar, Pakistan's information minister. Think of him as the one who makes sure the narrative stays on course. At least the narrative the army wants you to hear. He plays the role of the apologist for the Pakistani state, trying to paint Pakistan as the victim no matter what happens. Tarar's job is to control the flow of information, and let's just say he's got a knack for it. After all, he was the one who took journalists on a junket to the LOC. Why? To dupe them into believing that terror camps don't exist.
Being a responsible state, Pakistan open-heartedly offered a credible, transparent and independent investigation by a neutral commission of experts to ascertain the truth.
In theory, Pakistan is a democracy. In practice, it's just a stage. The script is written in Rawalpindi and it's acted out in Islamabad. While politicians talk peace, generals prepare for war. So while the world listens to Pakistan's civilian voices, it's the silence from the barracks that should worry us most. Because in Pakistan, it's not the noise that signals trouble, it's the orders being quietly carried out.
What happens when tensions escalate between two nuclear neighbors? Understandably, the anxiety spreads, world reactions begin pouring in, major powers advise caution, and rightly so. But sometimes this manifests in problematic ways, punctuated by lecturing, hypocrisy, and double standards. And this is exactly what India is witnessing today. The world is reacting on predictable lines in the aftermath of Operation Sindoor. We'll start with China. It has condemned India's strikes on Pakistan. It has called on both India and Pakistan to prioritize peace and stability and to remain calm. Now, if this sounds patronizing and hypocritical, it is, and there is more. China says that it is willing to play a quote-unquote constructive role in easing tensions. This is Pakistan's so-called iron brother. Also, its ATM, China itself is a bully and aggressor, the biggest source of weapons to Pakistan, and it now wants to position itself as a mediator. Then we have the Americans, who funded the Pakistani military for ages. Their president, Donald Trump, has called Operation Sindoor a shame.
No, it's a shame. We just heard about it, just as we were walking in the doors of the Oval. Just heard about it. I guess people knew something was going to happen based on a little bit of the past. They've been fighting for a long time. You know, they've been fighting for many, many decades and centuries, actually, if you really think about it. No, I just hope it ends very quickly.
Shortly after this, Marco Rubio reacted. He is the U.S. Secretary of State, their foreign minister basically, and he said that the U.S. will, and I'm quoting, continue to engage both Indian and Pakistani leadership towards a peaceful resolution. The UK has said that it stands ready to help out. Their foreign secretary reached out to India and Pakistan. He says, and I'm quoting again, if this escalates further, nobody wins. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer said both parties must engage in dialogue. That's basically the tone of most statements. And why is this a problem? For two reasons. First, the unabashed insensitivity of the West. If terrorists attack civilians in London, they're shot dead. If terrorists attack New York, they're hunted down. The Americans will happily raise an entire country in the process. But if there is a terror attack in Kashmir, dialogue should magically result in a peaceful resolution. Well, India wants peace too, which is why it is going after terrorist camps. The West should in fact thank us. But in a puzzling turn of events, even Afghanistan's Taliban is giving the same resounding advice on peace. I have to say, it's a bit rich coming from them. Now to the second issue with these statements. They put the onus of peace equally on India and Pakistan, which is a flawed approach, because one is an aggressor and promoter of terrorism. The other is reacting to a provocation and dismantling terror camps. Yet, some world powers fail to see this. Germany says, and I'm quoting, responsible action is urgently needed from both countries. France understands India's desire to protect itself, but obviously calls on both India and Pakistan to exercise restraint. Same with the UAE. And some parties have even flipped the script, like Turkey. They have called on both parties to act with, quote-unquote, common sense. The UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, is concerned about the Indian military operations in Pakistan. He says, and I'm quoting, that the world cannot afford a military confrontation between India and Pakistan. Well, that may be true. We are all concerned, in fact. But we are also clear-eyed. We know exactly what triggered the tensions. It was Pakistan's terrorism. So expressing concern about India's response is counterproductive. If anything, India is promoting the cause of peace by eliminating terrorists. So the onus of de-escalation should be on Pakistan. Thankfully, India also has strong partners who do not shy away from calling out Pakistani terrorism. Israel, for one, has called Operation Sindoor an act of self-defense by India. Their ambassador to India says that terrorists should know there is no place to hide from their heinous crimes. And that pretty much sums it up. Pakistan is a terror state. It is a global threat. The world has not been able to stop it, but when India witnesses bloodshed on its soil and New Delhi reacts, suddenly it all becomes too easy to lecture and to dish out the templated both countries spiel. After India stood up to the terror state, it has also boldly braved what came next. As the border remains hot, security preparations have been amped up. Residents living near the line of control have been moved to safer locations. Schools and colleges have been shut along the national border in Jammu, Punjab and Rajasthan. Today, flight operations were severely disrupted. At least 18 airports have been temporarily shut. Meanwhile, despite escalating tensions, the markets in India, the stock markets, ended on a flat note, although the same cannot be said about Pakistan. Our next report tells you more.
Amid escalating tensions with Pakistan, from air travel to markets, there is a massive ripple effect. But India remains prepared to brave the impact of this fallout. As the border remains hot, the Border Security Force has remained on high alert. Residents living near the line of control have been moved. They are being housed in safer locations. In the wake of tensions, several schools and colleges have been shut. This is in districts along the national border in Jammu, Punjab and Rajasthan. They have remained closed today. In some places like Pathankot in Punjab, schools will remain closed for 72 hours. Throughout the day, flight operations were severely disrupted. Around 140 flights were cancelled to and from the Delhi airport alone. In total, more than 200 flights have been cancelled across northern and western India. Air India, Indigo, SpiceJet, Akasa Air and a few foreign airlines have cancelled their services to and from various airports. Many airlines, including Indigo and Air India, are offering waivers on rescheduling charges or full refunds to affected passengers. Meanwhile, at least 18 airports have been temporarily shut. This includes airports in Leh, Srinagar, Jammu, Amritsar, Chandigarh, Jodhpur, Jaisalmer and many other places. Civilian flights in these parts have been suspended. Authorities say that operations will restart on Saturday morning. When India struck Pakistan, some international flights had to change course. And after the strike, almost all foreign airlines stopped flying over Pakistani airspace, which means that many flights are taking a longer time en route. For instance, the Dutch carrier KLM says that its Amsterdam flight to Delhi will take 1 hour longer and its flight to Mumbai 1 hour and 15 minutes longer. The markets have also braved the impact of India's courageous response. The Indian stock market ended the session today on a flat note. The Sensex closed near the 80,800 mark. Meanwhile, the Nifty finished just above 24,200. On the other hand, the Pakistan Stock Exchange remained in the red. Its flagship, the KSE 100 index, plunged 3,559 points to close 3.3% lower at 1,10,009. If this isn't a clear marker of the scenario, then what is? As terror state Pakistan threatens the world, it also poses a danger to itself and its already crumbling economy, as India remains steadfast in boldly battling what comes next.
We've talked about the operation, we've talked about the aftermath, but what's the big picture? What does today's strike tell us about India's policy? It confirms the emergence of a doctrine, one that balances resolve, strength, fairness, and restraint. And we don't see that nowadays. Most countries deal in extremes. They either suffer injustice in silence or they resort to all-out wars. India has shown that there is a third path as well. Precise, limited operations to establish deterrence. We saw that right from the start. India's first statement called it a focused, measured and non-escalatory response. Later, the Foreign Secretary repeated it. So did the defense officials. So clearly, India wanted to get that message out there, that the goal is not endless escalation, the goal is deterrence. You can trace it to the 2016 Uri attack. India responded to that with a surgical strike. Our commandos entered Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and destroyed terror camps. Then came the 2019 Pulwama attack. This time India responded with airstrikes. Indian fighter jets dropped bombs on Khyber Pakhtunkhwa in Pakistan. Finally, the Pahalgam attack, after which India gave its toughest response yet. Now, if you put this together, what do you see? A clear trend or doctrine. If Pakistan carries out terror attacks, there will be a reprisal. It could be a surgical strike, it could be an airstrike, or it could be an operation like today. That is the first part of India's emerging policy. You can be guaranteed of a response. No more free passes. That's part one. Part two, the scale of the attack is expanding. Balakot was bigger than Uri. Today was bigger than Balakot. So India's decision is to keep raising the stakes, not all at once, but step by step. Now, this is not a sign of military weakness. This is a sign of maturity. A lot of people ask India to do what Israel does in Gaza, or what Russia does in Ukraine, or what the Americans did in Iraq and Afghanistan, a full-on assault. But such a strategy has collateral damage. You could end up hurting or killing Pakistani civilians. India took extra care to avoid that.
The strike on the terror camps were undertaken through precision capability, as shown to you. A niche technology weapons with careful selection of warheads was ensured so that there will be no collateral damage.
So India takes its responsibilities very seriously, especially towards civilians. Clearly, there is strategic forethought. New Delhi does not use the same policy for everyone because everyone is different. You can't treat Pakistan and China the same way, or Bangladesh and Pakistan the same way, or the Maldives and Sri Lanka the same way. Each scenario requires a different approach. In this case, Pakistan is a nuclear power. It is armed with lethal American and Chinese weapons. Yes, India would still win the war, but the cost would be significantly high. These factors appear to have influenced India. The need to protect civilians and the potential cost of an all-out war. And in the end, the right call was taken. Because today's attack was a demonstration of India's intent and power. We showed we can pierce Pakistan's air defense. We showed we can hit their terror camps with ease. But we also showed restraint. It's a lesson for every country out there. You don't need to wipe out cities to send a message. Sometimes you need balance. Of course, there's a flip side here too. Critics would say that Uri did not prevent Pulwama and Balakot did not prevent Pahalgam. So will today's strikes prevent another attack? The fact is, we don't know. These strikes were a lot deadlier than the previous operations. So maybe the deterrence will last longer. Regardless of that, India's campaign should continue, whether it's to sweep out terror camps from Kashmir or to weaken Pakistan's economy or to isolate Pakistan on the global stage. India has shown that a hybrid, responsible policy is possible. In fact, Prime Minister Modi has championed it. He famously told Russia that this is not an era for war. And today's operation basically proved it. You don't need a war to punish and deter your enemies. The world should take note. And now it's time for Vantage shots, images that tell the story. New Delhi switches off its lights for a nationwide mock blackout drill. In Punjab, authorities recreate a wartime scenario during a mock drill, and schools across the country take part in drills to test civil readiness. Also taking you back in history, on this day in 1974, India was preparing for its first nuclear test under extreme secrecy. Preparations began in Rajasthan's Pokhran. The heightened activity in the region caught the eye of Pakistan's ISI. The test, codenamed Smiling Buddha, was finally concluded on the 18th of May, marking India's entry into the nuclear club. We are leaving you on that note. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
सर्वप्रथम हमारे नवीन सर और तो आज